And so I just played a little clip of Dr. Phil and Andy Mormon. Since we're going to talk a little bit about a few cases, the Suzanne Morphew case being one of them. Hey guys, I looked over here to make sure that you guys were saying you could see me. So thank you. All right, I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I appreciate y'all being here. I'm excited. Excuse me. I'm excited for this episode. I've been really preparing for it. We're snowed in here in Kentucky. I'm working from home, so had a lot of time to spend on this stuff when I get finished working. So I'm excited. All right. So I'm going to start off with talking about the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow case. Recently, there have been a few videos out of one of Chad's daughters, Emma. She gave an interview to Court TV. I took a clip of that. I'm going to play that. And she's talking about the autopsy results. What she's saying is that the police haven't even gave the family the autopsy results. And they're saying that her and her siblings have to go down and talk to detectives before they can get those results, which I think is pretty messed up. It's her mom, you know. She also said there's a lot of false information that's been floating around out in the media concerning the day her mom died and everything else. So I'll speculate a little bit on what she's talking about, but here's the video. This is, I forgot the lady's name on Court TV, but she's a really good reporter, and she called him, and this is the interview. So,
and see if you would give a comment and ask if you have also received those autopsy results.
No, I have not.
Okay, so have you requested it or requested to see them at all?
Yes, so last Thursday I saw the same press release that I think everybody else did. It caught me by surprise. And I called the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. It's a little complicated. Our address says that it's in Rexburg, but we're about 2 miles into Fremont County versus Madison County. So the Fremont County Sheriff is who I called. And I left a voicemail at their office. I just wanted to know if I could see my mother's autopsy results. I want to see them before they're released to the media. And Sheriff Humphreys returned my call, and he told me that if I work with Fremont County's head detective, I would be able to discuss it with them. But I was also told that he would not even be able to call me back until later the next week. And my brothers and sisters and I have been on pins and needles for over a year waiting to know what this report says.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'll get back to that. But can you imagine your mother's been buried? First of all, let's go back a little bit. Her mother dies under suspicious circumstances. I think Emma herself said there was some pink frothy foam coming out of her mom's mouth. And then she's buried without an autopsy. And then she's exhumed, and there's an initial autopsy done. And then you don't know the results for like a year. And then the media puts out that they have the results of your mother's autopsy and they don't give it to you. Messed up. I don't understand that. All right, let's get back to this.
But I was told that the sheriff himself cannot let my mother's own children see an autopsy report until we all meet together with a detective and answer all of their questions.
What else would the agreement involve for you to be able to see this autopsy report?
We weren't supposed to talk about it with anyone, which feels funny as well. I don't understand why we would have to meet with a detective just to see a report. And it's something so private, personal, and sensitive that this isn't something that we would be going around talking about anyway. I just want to see the autopsy report. This is my mom. It was a very odd phone call, a little bit unclear. I was told that a detective would call me later, but I haven't heard from him.
And if you could, just how has this impacted you and your family?
So I cannot even adequately communicate the amount of pain this has caused my family. It's been over 14 months, and my mom's parents are still living, and they also are not allowed to see their daughter's autopsy report. They find out in the news just the same as everybody else does. I don't think this is common knowledge, but the Fremont County Sheriff's Office reported the exhumation of my mother's body in December 2019, 2 weeks after the fact, through a public press release from the Rexburg Police Department. That's a city in a different county. They did not sit us down or anything and prepare us or let us know what was going on. But we found out that our mother had been exhumed, and we had no idea.
I'm sure you have a feeling of what it says.
I have a pretty good idea about what this whole situation's been heartbreaking. My dad's in jail, my mom's dead. It feels like we're all alone, and I just want to see this document. But all I can say is that there's a lot of false information circulating in the news about the passing of my mother.
And could you go into detail about false information?
Not right now. I'm curious for this autopsy results to be released first.
All right. I know, okay, I'm reading some of the comments from y'all, and I know that this is part of an investigation. I get that part of it, but man, this is, I mean, can you imagine what they're going through? Just like she said, her dad is in jail, and possibly, I thought it was really interesting what she said there, where she said, I got a pretty good idea of what's in it. Yeah, right there. I have a pretty good idea. And she asked her what was in the autopsy. I wonder what she thinks is in it, or what she knows is in it. So, yeah. I'm not sure. Somebody wrote here, her father's in jail for a good reason. For a good reason. So, yeah, I wonder if she thinks that too, because I don't know if she's on board with supporting her dad right at this moment. Not if she thinks there's something in that autopsy report. So, anyway. All right. So, if y'all want to comment, tell me what you think. If you think it's good for the police to keep this from the family. I can tell you one person in the Daybell family who probably doesn't want to know what's in that autopsy report is Chad. Maybe he does. I mean, maybe he already knows. But anyway. All right. I'm going to have to get back to you on the Morphew case, because I don't really have a whole lot to talk about on that case, but there is a couple of things, but I would like to talk about them here in a little bit after I talk about some of this other stuff. So also last night I put out like a preview of this and of this show, and I had a name wrong. I said Mark Means when I was talking about Rob Wood. They're both bald dudes, and I got their names mixed up, so that's all. Anyway, I will go over a little bit of what Rob Wood had going on with Mark Means. They had another court hearing today, and I thought it was really interesting. I put it on, first of all, I watched it in like 1.5 and 1.75, depending on who was talking, to get it over with quicker. And it was really interesting. When Mark Means was talking, I couldn't put it on fast because he was already talking like crazy, like really super fast. So Yeah, that was interesting. So all he was saying pretty much was he has nowhere to talk to. Mark Means was saying he has really nowhere to talk to Lori Vallow. He's filed a motion to be able to talk to her on a cell phone that he was going to provide that only could call his number. And, Rob Wood, shot that down when he had the chance. So anyway, they went and talked about it today, and he was saying all kinds of crazy stuff about how he was going to try to get the case thrown out. Mark Means was. So I'm going to look something up real quick. Anyway, it was just crazy. And it just seems like whenever Mark Means gets up there, he's like on a JV team and he's going up against a varsity team. It just seems like he's out of his element. And then Pryor cracks me up with his scowl, and he's just over there like he probably wants to be anywhere in the world, but in that courtroom at that time. So anyway, I'll get back to all that stuff later. When I get done talking about the main thing I'm going to talk about, I'll talk about all these cases, and I'll get my ducks in a row to talk about them. But I've been really researching this topic and for quite a while now. And so I want to kind of just jump into it because it's very interesting to me. I probably mentioned this before on the show, but when I was a kid, we lived right next door to a public library. So I would go in there all the time and just read books. And I would come across books every once in a while about serial killers and stuff like that. And I'd start reading them, and they start freaking me out. But eventually I'd always go back to it. And I'd always go back to and it was really interesting to me, even though they scared me. I think I was attracted to that stuff because I was trying to figure out what made these people tick. And I never really did find out. But here recently, I started researching it a lot more. I should say, not that I didn't find out. There was a lot of research I did about different theories of why people turned into serial killers or whatever. But until recently, I haven't really got into the psychology and the scientific reasons why it might happen. But so, all right. So I'm going to start off. I used to think that the term serial killer had been around for a really long time, but as I was doing I found out that the first time that it could be traced back was in 1981 when this guy Wayne Williams was in Atlanta. He was suspected of killing a bunch of children, and they said something that said, let me see my notes. It said some of the killings are the result of a serial or pattern murderer. That was the first time they used that term, and that was in the New York Times back in when was that? May of 1981 is when that was printed in the New York Times. So before that, I don't think that they were called that. I'm sure they were called something, but murderers or whatever else. So anyway, I was watching a few clips. I was reading a few things, and it started giving a profile of what you would look for when you're thinking of a serial killer. And according to statistics, here's the profile and who fits into the profile of a serial killer usually. I mean, there's some outliers where there's been women serial killers, but a major percentage of them, a high percentage of them are males, and they're also a high percentage of white males. And it says here 5 out of 6 serial killers are men, and their average age is around 28 years old. And when they get into their 40s and 50s, they usually retire from being a serial killer. So it's most of the reason for that I've learned is because when you start getting older, your testosterone and your sex drive start going down. And a lot of these serial killers are sexually motivated. So that made total sense to me that would be why they would retire or whatever. You know, you have your outliers. There was a guy in Canada, I can't remember his name right now, but he started killing in his like 50s, and he started killing people, which was weird. And then you have like people like BTK, the what was his real name? I'll think of it in a minute. But it was that guy in Kansas that was a bind. He called himself BTK because bind, torture, and kill is why he said that. He would tie people up, he would torture them, and then he would kill them. And there was also some sexual undertones to his stuff and some sexual crimes that he committed also. But what I was saying about him was he started when he was young, then he took a break for many, many years, and then he came back. So anyway, so also here's another outlier. I mean, another thing that would put them in the profile. They come from difficult or violent homes. They have average IQs. I know movies like Silence of the Lambs and different movies like that. Like Hannibal Lecter was like a professor, really high IQ, but they're not all like that. There is one guy that I got a little video of. His name's Ed Kemper, and he was a super smart guy, but he was also crazy. He was a serial killer. He was so bad I can't even talk about some of his crimes because I'd get flagged on YouTube and probably demonetized. Well, I'm not even monetized, so I guess I could talk about it. But it says they're almost always fit. They almost always fit in the technical definition of a psychopath, which is they have grandiose thinking, they lack sympathy or empathy, they put their own needs over everything, even the lives of other people, which is crazy. So that, Dennis Rader, thank you, Nadia. I looked up and there his name was, and also M put it up there. There's some other stuff that M's Mad World put. I was laughing at, but all right. And it says here, what I was studying today was about 1 in 150 people are psychopaths, which I didn't get that. I didn't know why there would be so many, but not all psychopaths kill is what they say. A lot of them can blend into society. I'm just going to chuck those over there when I'm done with them. It says here they're very good at faking, conforming, and blending in. They're like chameleons is what I read today. And this duplicity is part of what makes them so dangerous. They can act like they're one person and they can, be a killer in their other life. So there's a neuroscientist. His name is Kent Kiehl, Kiehl. I'm going to say Kill because we're talking about serial killers. Among the first to identify psychopaths by imaging their brains. That's pretty crazy. They started doing brain scans. I love technology. No, not 1 in 50, Betty. 1 in 150. If I said 1 in 50, no. Sorry. So if you have 150 friends, one of them's a psychopath. At least. I know I got more than that. Just kidding, friends. So it says they image their brains, which means they do MRIs and stuff, and they look for certain things. And there was this guy that I was talking about, this neuroscientist, Dr. Kill. He conducted MRI scans on prison population in British Columbia, over 5,000 inmates. And he said because of this, they believe they have found what's wrong or different about a psychopath's brain, which is crazy. Okay, I'm scared to go get an MRI now because I don't want to find out I have a psychopath brain. There is one guy that was on the Doctors, the show. I'm sure some of you have seen it. Show called The Doctors. There's a guy that does these researches. He's a doctor, and he got a brain scan, and he had the brain of a psychopath. And he's the one that studies them. I thought that was really interesting. It says here, psychopathic brains are visibly different. Specifically, the orbital frontal cortex behind your eyes and that amygdala. Yeah, I'm going to say amygdala, deep inside the brain. In a psychopath, these regions are dysfunctional. Together, they are responsible for feelings of remorse, empathy, and fear. That's one thing I found out about psychopaths when I was studying. They don't fear anything. They do not think about consequences of their actions. It doesn't even cross their mind. They don't even care. They'll just do whatever, not even worry about it. Only a fraction of psychopaths will become serial killers, but that brain impairment enables them to kill without remorse or fear of consequences, just like I was just saying. This raises the fundamental question and topic of tonight's 321 report. Are serial killers born? Is it genetic? Or are they made, a product of their environment? Or is it both? I truly believe it's both. And I'll tell you why, because we're going to go through this. All right. So here's excuse me. There's a video. I was going to show a portion of it. Hopefully I can find it I have all my stuff out here, and then I start clicking on stuff and it gets buried on my thing here, and then I have to go digging through it again. So I'm going to go try to find this video. Hopefully I know exactly where it is. There it is. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so this is a guy, Dr. Eric Cullen, and he's a clinical forensic psychologist. And he's going to talk a little. I'm going to stop him. I'm going to let him talk. I'm going to stop him, and then I'm going to talk. But this guy's really interesting, and I'd rather him say what he's saying. And if you have problem, I wrote most of it down, the key points, so I can go ahead and if you have a problem understanding him or something, I can tell you what he said. So here we go.
Not born. Any serious attempt to understand the psychology of how a serial killer comes to be by focusing only on their genetic predisposition or individual biology or character tells significantly less than half the story. It's essential to look at the wider familial, social, and cultural factors. Serial killers are the malign waste product of a dysfunctional environment, the cultural effluent. The United States of America is the place which produces the overwhelming majority of serial killers. The most authoritative study extant on the subject worldwide is that by Radford University, and which one the FBI uses. This study reviewed a total of 4,743 serial killers in history since 1900 worldwide. Of these, 3,204, or 68%, were from the United States.
Did you hear that? I know that we got a lot of serial killers, but holy cow, we have 68% of the serial killers in the world. Unbelievable. Out of 4,743, we have 3,204 of them since 1900. That is unbelievable. So this guy's going to, Dr. Cullen is going to tell us what he's going to do is he's going to give some more statistics, and then he's going to get into what the 6 reasons he thinks, this isn't part of the study, it's 6 reasons he thinks that serial killers become serial killers. And I agree with like most of them. I agree with them. There's one in there that he kind of bangs on, like bashes guns and stuff, and and I I'm not anti-gun or anything, you know. I do think there's a lot of people that, and he says this, he says that a gun is a coward's weapon as far as like if you're going to use it against people. And I agree with that. It is. But I also know a huge amount of people in my life even that own guns that are very responsible. And so, you know, anyway, so I'll let him talk about these stats because, man, this is that one just blew me away. And these, even there's some more that are going to blow you away too. Hold on.
68%. The USA has only about 4.35% of the world's population, meaning that it is 1,553% overrepresented statistically. The rest of the world's 95% plus of the population have less than 33% of the total. For illustration, China and India, with nearly 40% of the world's population between them, had only just over 3% of the total. Sadly, the UK had the second highest total with only 166 serial killers, or 3.5% of the total. Why is America the home of serial killing? America leads the serial killer way because of 6 things, I believe. The first one is family and cultural fragmentation. Over half of the marriages in America end in divorce. Many single parents, usually the mother, struggle to provide adequate, positive male role models for the male children. Role models that are bonded by love and blood. The developmental acquisition of a social conscience, of compassion for others, comes from the primary parenting teaching right from wrong, good from bad, social from selfish. And all of this has to come from a basis of love and nurturing. If the lessons learned from the main social conscience providers are criminal, hostile, bitter, antagonistic, and selfish, then the young man becomes a far greater risk to others, especially if the offender was sexually abused by a parental or an authority figure.
Okay. I think that is a huge factor in these serial killers. I've heard of a lot of them who have claimed they were sexually abused or abused in other ways, by parents or by a trusted individual. And I think he's right on the money with this. Not having a male role model in your life is crappy. It just tears you up. And I'm not saying I didn't have that. I had a great one. And my dad, even though my mom and dad were divorced when I was really young, my dad lived nearby and he was a great role model for me. And I'm really thankful for that. But I did have friends who didn't have one. And by miracle, some of them turned out to be amazing people. But, you know, some of them ended up in a lot of trouble and they didn't end up serial killers, thank goodness. But yeah. So anyway, let's continue. I really like this. It's really interesting and I'm going to keep playing it because he can say it better than I can.
They learned that it is better to be the person in power doing the self-pleasuring than the victim. They may also experience a rather corrupted account from the person abusing them that it was an expression of love. I've heard many murderers who were sexually abused recount how it was the only affection they experienced as a child.
That is very, very sad. The only affection you're receiving as a child is being sexually abused. That's horrific.
The main factor I think that contributes is a culture of violence in America. The media, films, newspapers, and the internet all provide a constant, ceaseless diet of violence and sex. And the lines of reality are blurred by watching people killed with impunity and often with the violence justified by the American traditions of frontier justice, the American obsession with using weapons to resolve grievances. When a young man, alienated, grows up seeing violence as a means to an end, it changes him. He becomes a far greater risk to others. And the totem for this violent culture is guns. There are more guns than people in the United States. No other country comes close.
Okay. I know I already mentioned this, that he bashes on guns, but I think he's getting off track here a little bit. And I'm not going to criticize a doctor, but I'm just saying, like, most of the serial killers do not kill with a gun. So this is kind of a little off track. I get the violence part. I get that. But most serial killers is a more personal killing than shooting someone. So, yeah.
On the news this week, we learned of the mass shooting in California. That was the 247th mass shooting in America this year. Nearly half of all serial killers use guns as their weapon of choice. Compared to 22 other high...
Hold on. That's not true. I read it. I mean, maybe it is when he said this, but I don't know. But I read a study by the FBI said only a quarter of the serial killers use guns, and that was done in 2014. So I don't know. Maybe he's got a different study.
Income nations, the U.S. gun-related murder rate is 25 times higher. Although it has only half the population of those other 22 countries combined, the U.S. has 82% of all gun deaths, 90% of all women killed with guns, 91% of children, and 92% of young people between 15 and 24 killed with guns. Between 1968 and 2011, nearly 1.5 million Americans have been killed by guns. This obsession with the right to
He obviously
arms,
doesn't like guns.
the irrational fear that underpins it is a major factor in American mentality, and obviously a factor in serial killing made easy. Guns are the coward's weapon of choice.
I agree with that.
Third factor is a rootless social landscape. Millions of Americans move from place to place, state to state, with many disappearing from the radar of conventional indices of identification.
Okay. I saw somebody ask if I thought Delphi was a serial killer. I have thought that before. And right here, what he's saying right now leads me to believe that. What he's saying is that we don't have roots anymore. The social landscape is like we get up and we move. We get up and we move from state to state. And what he's going to say in a minute is there's no national police force. And I don't know how the FBI factors into what he's saying here, but what he's saying is there's no database between states to where there's patterns formed where it has to be an extraordinary circumstance for major government agencies to come together to try to form these patterns when it's somebody's traveling from state to state, killing people. So, yeah, I just saw that comment or that question. I have thought that before. I've actually even, thought about, Barry Morphew moving right after the Delphi, thing. So, or the Delphi killings. So I'm not saying that, that would be a stretch, but, anything's possible, I guess, in this world. But I do think that that's a possibility that he could be a serial killer, whoever killed him. I definitely agree with Kelsey that wasn't his first time, because you don't start like that. But anyway, let's get back to, this is interesting. Let's get back to this Dr. Coleman.
And governmental control, these transient impersonal loners. When a young man cuts himself off from the positive and controlling influences and the people to support him, and he becomes a drifter and estranged, he becomes a far greater risk to others, especially if he's grown to harbor that potential for violence. Anonymity breeds isolation, breeds risk.
I like that. I like what he said there. Anonymity, which is being anonymous, breeds isolation. You isolate yourself because you don't want people to know who you are. And that breeds risk. That breeds people. Let's say you're isolated from somebody. You don't have people around you to tell you what's right and wrong. You don't have people around you to say, hey, you're being an idiot, for the little things. Well, you're going to sit there. You're going to be isolated from people. Nobody knows who you are. So you feel like you could take more risks and you can do more violent things. So I like that. Anonymity breeds isolation, breeds risk. I just wanted to stop, and I like that.
The fourth and singular factor is pervasive pornography. This, in my view, is probably the greatest single factor, along with the childhood abuse. When you see other people debased as sex objects, viewed solely for personal gratification, men and women subjected to the most extreme types of sexual violence and often not seeming to resist or indeed actively consenting, when sex becomes a cultural form of entertainment to be purchased and promiscuity has lost its social sanction, and young men view women or gay men with a combination of contempt, resentment, anger, and they're unsuccessful with direct personal relationships themselves, they can become a significantly greater risk of violence towards women.
So that is, gosh, man, he's hitting the nail on the head on this one, because I'm going to show you a video of Ted Bundy. He gave an interview 2 days before he was executed in the electric chair. And he was talking about this very subject about pornography and how he said he doesn't blame pornography for what he did, but it definitely had an effect on him. So I'll let him say a couple more things, and I'm going to play that Ted Bundy interview.
Especially if they're able to pejoratively objectify the women as targets. Many serial killers, when they're captured, refer to pornography as the main cause of their formative deviance.
Okay, so I'll stop it there. I'll come back to him because it doesn't have very much longer, but I will come back. It's on 6:33. I just had to, I want to write down where that is. Pin 6:33. That's where the video ended, and I will get back to that. Oh, and by the way, Ted Bundy's interview, I went through and I typed out the captions because I didn't think you guys would understand what he's saying. So I was like, I really want you to hear what he's saying. So I did the captions myself. So if I misspelled something, sorry about that.
Yes, and and this is something I think I want to emphasize is the most damaging kinds of pornography. Again, I'm talking from personal experience, hard, real personal experience. The most damaging kinds of pornography are those that involve violence and sexual violence, because the wedding of those two forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just too terrible to describe. I'm not blaming pornography and not saying that it caused me to go out and do certain things. And I take full responsibility for whatever I've done and all the things that I've done. That's not the question here. The question and the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior.
All right, so that's really interesting. One of the reasons, let me get this off of here. One of the reasons I think that's so interesting is because this was 2 days before he was put to death in the electric chair, and this is what he was talking about to this guy. So this must have been weighing on his mind a little bit, if it could. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't have much of a conscience being Ted Bundy, but anyway. So I'm looking at comments. I didn't know certain things that you guys are talking about, but oh well. All right. So
declared the porn epidemic.
hey, it went right back where I was.
The fifth major contributory factor is the addiction to alcohol and opioids. In the United States, 130 people die every single day after overdosing on opioids, prescription drugs. More than 400,000 lives have been lost over the past 2 decades in America. Drug addiction is a feature of many serial killers. It dulls the senses, it disinhibits, and it releases aggression. The sixth and arguably most contentious factor is the disconnected and at times incompetent police. There is no national police force in America that has the power to investigate and pursue crimes state to state. This applies to multiple killings which may be connected. As a result, the forces frequently fail to identify and recognize the patterns of offending across state lines or of sharing information on a national grid or database. As a result, a serial killer can escape detection over years. The risk of his reoffending and killing more and more victims increases, especially if he enjoys the killing and escaping capture. And finally, sadly, in many serial killers, these numerous incidents and opportunities to arrest, which could have been taken, weren't, leading to more killings. Countries which still sustain strong traditions of religious tenets, strong family ties, communal identity, and intolerance of violence, drugs, and sex as entertainment are the countries least likely to have large numbers of serial killing. Because high levels of serial killing is a malign byproduct of a gun-obsessed, violent, pornographic, addicted, socially fractured subculture with huge investment in sex and violence as business, and where serial killers become celebrities, not just notorious, but actual celebrities, some of whom receive offers of marriage. The USA have these factors in greater, larger concentrations than any other country. Large swathes of America are now given over to commercially catering for the basest of human appetites.
All right. That is super interesting. So if you want I'll put the link to that video if you want to watch that again. I really enjoyed it and I took a lot of notes from it. And anyway, so the parts one of the parts that I want to talk about on that last, when I restarted it was the part that I starred here, like I really wanted to talk about it. He said countries that still sustain strong traditions of religious tenets, strong family ties, communal identity, intolerance of violence, drugs, and sex as entertainment are the countries least likely to have large numbers of serial killings. Obviously, that's not the United States. I mean, let's just be real. We have 68% of the serial killers in the world when we have 4.whatever% of the population. That's crazy. I couldn't believe that statistic when he said that. So, and then he says instead of a disdain for these killers, we turn them into celebrities. He said not only notorious, but actual celebrities, where people are wanting to marry them, and they just become celebrities, bigger than life, really. So, all right, so I got there was a part in there they talked about families being, the messed up home life, broken homes. There's a guy I mentioned him earlier, a guy named Ed Kemper. If you ever saw Mindhunter, he was on that show. Not him, but a guy playing him, and he did a really good job, actually, because I've seen the real interviews and then the interviews they did on the show. But Ed Kemper was abused emotionally and verbally by his mother. His mother was really horrible to him. So what happened with Ed is he got real angry. And when he was young, he got sent to live with his grandparents, and he killed them, which is horrible. But they put him in a home, and then they released him when he got old enough to get out. And then he went back to live with his mom because his mom and dad were divorced. Then he starts picking up co-eds from a local university and taking them out and killing them. People used to hitchhike. I think this is back in the 60s and 70s when he did this. So people used to hitchhike all the time. Yeah. So Gonzo said Ed Kemper went absolutely off. I can't even talk like he did. I can't even talk about what he did to his mom. It's horrible. But I'll say a couple of things that aren't going to get me in trouble probably. But anyway, so I'm going to play a little bit of his video. What he's talking about is how he had this disdain for his mom. He could not stand his mom. She was always saying he was the reason that her and his dad broke up and all this stuff. She was an alcoholic and she treated him like crap. So here's him talking about her.
Angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. And I watched the alcohol increase. I watched her social life drop off. I watched her get bizarre. She had terrible pain from her life, earlier life, her upbringing, a failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such, into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening, but that is what happened. They represented not what my mother was, but what she liked, what she coveted, what was important to her, and I was destroying it.
Why did you actually kill the girls?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually.
Thanks a lot.
That was 1 week before I murdered my mother. I said, she's got to die, and I've got to die, or girls like that are going to die.
So he was going out and killing these young girls because he was frustrated with his mom and he couldn't communicate with her. And so I will say a couple of things that he did. He according to one of the police officers that went to the murder scene, he went in her room at like 4 a.m. and just started with a hammer and just went after her. He said it was one of the most horrible scenes he'd ever seen. Another one of the detectives said that he tore out her vocal cords, cut them out, and he tried to destroy them in the garbage disposal because he was trying to get her to shut up because she was always, abusing him verbally. Yeah, and I saw somebody say he was huge. He was like 6'8", really big guy. He used to hang out at police bars. He was pretty smart. He said he would know not to ask too many questions, but he could ask just enough to seem curious and not draw attention to himself. If you have a chance, go listen to his interviews. He's a very intelligent person. He was just really angry and he was really abused, and he probably, I'd probably bet everything I got that he was a psychopath, and that he didn't feel, he did get emotional in this interview, but not the part I showed when talking about killing his mom. He started choking up. It looked real, but who knows with psychopaths, they can fake it. So, but yeah, it's an interesting topic. Yeah. Well, I believe I don't believe a whole lot he said, but I believe that what he said about killing, because there's proof of that. Everybody was dead, so especially his mom. And then he was afraid that the neighbor lady, his mom's friend, was gonna find her, so he went and killed her too. So, all right. Well, this is just, I want to talk about this more in future episodes. I know a guy that works at the local college here. I know him on a personal level, and he is a criminologist. He teaches criminology, sociology at Western Kentucky University here in Bowling Green. So I'm reaching out to him. I'm going to ask him if he wants to come on and talk about. He doesn't talk about the legal aspects of, crime or whatever. He talks more about the psychology and the behavioral. So I think that would be very interesting. Go along really well with this topic. And I want to keep building on this subject because especially the science behind it, the research behind it, because it's really very fascinating. We don't know who's walking around out there who are psychopaths. They could be very well adjusted. I saw somebody comment on the comments earlier that Ted Bundy was very high functioning. He represented himself in his trial, which was crazy. But I mean, yeah, I'm older, but I don't remember Ted Bundy's cases very, very well. That was before my time, but a lot of these I do remember. I also have a line on a crime scene investigator from around here that I've reached out to. I have a really good friend that lives here that's a doctor, and he came over the other day. We sat here in my office, and we talked about the show. We talked about people he knows, and he gave me a line on those two people. I didn't realize that my friend that teaches at the college taught criminology. I knew he taught sociology. I didn't know he taught that. And my friend, the doctor, he reminded me of that, and I thought that was really cool that he came over and he started talking to me about this stuff. So, all right. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna kind of skip the Morphew stuff tonight because I don't want to really talk about that tonight. I'd rather stay on this topic and then answer y'all's questions, because I've been seeing a lot of good questions here. So I'm gonna kind of scroll through them, and I see my mom said she's sorry she was late. I don't care. I also saw a lot of comments that Tyson was on live tonight. I didn't know that. A lot of people saying we should communicate better. I mean, is what it is. If he wanted to go on tonight, that's his prerogative. I mean, I don't have anything against him doing that. I'm just going to present what I have. I didn't know he was going to. I'll be honest with you, we haven't been communicating that much. We're doing our own thing. So, yeah. So if he wants to come on, that's really fine with me. I don't care. It looked like he was having some issues last time I popped in on his show, and then I was looking for it on Thursday when he said it was going to be, and then it wasn't there. So I don't know what happened, but I never went back after that because I was busy. But hey, there's my brother. You didn't know the Draper brothers had another brother. Actually, we have two more. Todd and Josh. What's up, brother? There's my nephews. That's awesome. So anyway, just so I know I said some things like, I hope it didn't start a bunch of rumors, but me and Tyson are just kind of going our own way. We're not communicating all the time or anything like that. He's doing his thing. I'm doing mine. We're both super busy. I have no ill will against Tyson whatsoever. We're just not working together anymore right now or whenever. And I think it's going just fine. I mean, I helped build what he has, and it's okay that he's rolling with that because I'm starting my own thing, and I'm happy to do that. And anyway, because I just saw a lot of like, why did he go on it when Dusty usually goes on? And I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it is kind of weird though, but I don't care. I'm going through the comments, so if y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Oh, here's one. This is easy to answer. Yes, the weather is bad out here. There's ice and snow all over the place. My car is down at the end of the driveway because I couldn't get it up because we have like a steep driveway, kind of like, let's see, kind of like that. So I tried to get up it, and I barely got it out of the road, to be honest with you. And it's been sitting there for like 3 days. So, yeah, it's bad. It's snowing right now. There's huge flakes coming down. Me too, Gil. What's up, Gil? I get a lot of cool messages from Gil, so thank you, Gil. I am too. I love learning about them. So, sorry, I know I'm not talking the whole time, but I'm going through your comments. Yes, I totally agree. Thank you, Strawberry Wine. You and Maui Girl, I don't even know if Maui Girl's here. I can't see, but y'all always do a great job modding for me. I really appreciate it. So it says, where is it? I thought psychopaths didn't have emotions or guilt. Yeah, but they can fake it. That's what I'm reading is I'm not saying they don't have emotions. I think they do. They definitely don't have guilt. And I think that they can watch people and see what guilt's supposed to look like, and they can, or what emotions are supposed to look like, and they could fake them. Like they're very good at being chameleons. Like blending in to society, not drawing attention to themselves. But if something happens and that switch is flicked, and manipulation. Yeah, thank you, High Priestess. Elimination. Manipulation is one of their tools. Absolutely. I love seeing comments like this. Whoops, sorry. The topic is fascinating. Thank you. I think so too. They are great actors. Yep. Millie, Molly, Mrs. T. I did ask if you watched Down the Hill Part 1 and 2 on Libby. I did not. I have listened to that podcast before. I tried looking for it just today, and I couldn't find it on YouTube or anything. I know it was on Headline News, but I don't have like TV. We don't have like anything for TV. We watch all of our stuff online. So, yeah. Yep, they have no empathy at all. They're missing that. Something's messed up and defective on that piece of their brain. Let me see. I had other notes. Yeah, it says the regions are dysfunctional. Together, they are responsible for feelings of remorse, empathy, and fear. Psychopaths don't worry about punishment. So yeah, they don't have empathy or sympathy. They don't have remorse, and they definitely aren't afraid of nothing, which is a bad combo when you're a killer, I've accidentally went like too far. So I'm going to roll back up here. No. Sorry, I keep clicking twice. No, Heather, I don't think they do feel shame. I loved it too. So I'm going to read this because I like reading about the Delphi girls. Heather Marie, I know it looks like a crime of opportunity for Delphi girls. It just seems odd that someone would be looking to kill someone during broad daylight and do all that stuff. Pretty risky. Yeah, I believe that. I think that too, Betty. That's a good point. I wonder if they CAT scan. Whoops. I do think I don't know if they CAT scan them when they're locked up. I do think they do like a lot of medical research on them after they're dead. Yep, I am. I'm going to keep doing this on Wednesday. I mean, I don't care. Like, I'm not competing with nobody. So, I mean, if y'all want to watch somebody else, you ain't going to hurt my feelings. You can always watch a replay of my show. The good thing about y'all being here is if you want to get monetized and you want to do different things on YouTube, you have to have over 1,000 subscribers, which I have, and you have to have over 4,000 watch hours. So when I do these lives, it gives me a lot of those watch hours. Depending on how many people are here, it gives me more. So I'm up to like 1,500 watch hours. So they're coming pretty fast. So that's good because I can keep growing and, do more things. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to do this, but it's also good when you're getting paid by the ads that they sell or whatever. I know you guys hate watching them, but they help us. So Shelby, you're always so positive to me and you're always so supportive. And I just want you to know I really appreciate it. And that's a really cute baby that you got there. My grandson came over a couple of times in the last week with my daughter, and he's growing so quick. Today he's 5 months old, is what my daughter said. So that's amazing. He's just sitting up, and yeah, he's the cutest kid. I love it. He looks just like my daughter when she was that age. He's got those big blue eyes. Really cute kid. Yep. Oops. I don't know how to do anything else, Heather. Thank you. I love the topic too. And that kind of came to me the other day. I was thinking, what can I talk about next? And I do want to tell y'all, I think this is when I was, I'm not going to post AKs, but I think that's pretty funny. But yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Next week, I got distracted by the comments. I'm sorry. Like squirrel again. So next week, I have a very special guest coming on here. She's a very near and dear person in my life. She's my cousin, but she's also one of my best friends in the whole wide world. Her name is Charlene Potter, and I'm going to interview her because I want to talk about losing someone really close to you, and I want to talk about the grieving process. I know a lot of us see families and different people in these cases that may act in a certain way, and we don't think that it's normal or whatever. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not in a lot of cases, especially some of the cases I've covered. But what happened with my cousin is her son, he was just getting ready to go serve a mission in Portugal. And he was going for 2 years. He was getting ready. They had a farewell for him. And a couple of days after his farewell, he was in a car accident and he was killed. He was only 19. And that was a few years back. And I've asked her to come on and talk about that experience and how it's affected her life. and how it's changed her life. And I know a lot of the answers because we talk about this. We have talked over the years. We've talked about Colton, her son, passing, and the things that she's went through. But she's one of the strongest people I've ever met, and I think it would help a lot of you out there. Not only if you're going through something similar or you have been through something similar, but it'll help you understand a little more about grief and about losing a loved one. And she has 3 amazing daughters. They're all married to really awesome guys, and they have some a couple of them. One of them doesn't have kids yet, but 2 of them do, and they're amazing too. And hopefully I can get her to talk about them also and what they've been through. Yeah, she's my first cousin, and she's my dad and her dad are brothers, and she's just an amazing person. And I got the feeling a couple of days ago I should ask her, and I asked her if she wanted to come on tonight, but she's been at her dad's house all week, helping clean his house. He's just getting through cancer treatments, and he's on the upswing, and she's cleaning out his house, and she's been sending me pictures of family. She sent me some baby pictures of myself and that she's found at her dad's house, and pictures of me and my mom and dad when I was a baby. But so she couldn't do it this week. And so I went on with this subject and this topic. And so she's coming on next week. And I really think that you should tune in because it's going to be pretty amazing. She's an amazing person, and I think y'all will enjoy that. So, yeah, you did hear me crunching in the snow because that snow was like ice. I almost slipped on it once, and I thought, man, if I fall on this, I'm going to definitely break something. So I put on my hiking boots, and I got out there, and I didn't fall, thank goodness. The dog was trying to make me fall because she kept pulling me. What I do is she got away from me one time. This is an embarrassing story, but I'll tell it anyway since I already started. She got away from me one time when she was younger, and she jerked the leash out of my hand, and I was chasing her, and I dove to grab her, and I didn't grab her or like her collar like I was trying to. I grabbed her fur, and she yelped and she pulled away from me. I was afraid she was going to get hit by a car is why I was trying to catch her. And I fell and hit my head on the ground, and I was like seeing stars. So what I do now is I'll put the leash in my belt loop. Like I'll put it in my belt. So now she pulls on me like on my hip and tries to go somewhere, and she'll like pull me when there's ice or something like that. It's pretty crazy because she almost pulls me down. But she's a really great dog. We love her, and she is full of energy, and she's one of the all she wants is you to rub her belly and pet her and feed her and play with her and take her on walks, and she's happy. So all right, I'm going back to the questions now that you heard all this. Oh, there's Tiff. Hi, Tiff. I got to go back through these because there's people. I'm missing a whole conversation here. Oh, no way. That's awesome. So that you must have the same birthday. Your baby must have the same birthday as my grandson. That's awesome. What's my email? You can send emails to here, I'll type it. but it's the 321 report at gmail.com. So the 321 report at gmail.com. Just in it. So it should be in there in a minute. You know what? I guess it doesn't matter. I am going to have merch once I can get monetized and do all that stuff. It's going to be a little bit different than what we had on the other channel. I designed all that stuff, so I'm not going to have a problem designing this other stuff, but I'm going to do it a little bit different. You'll see when I do it. So just y'all being here is helping me get closer to that goal, though. So I didn't even look to see what I'm up to, but I think it's like 1,100 and something. So that's pretty cool. I'm just trying to pump up those watch hours. So anytime y'all watch my shows or my videos or whatever, it really helps me out. I'm wanting to see what Todd said you never know to. Yeah, it's the 321 report, Tiff, but I notice everybody, like, they give you the analytics on like on your YouTube channel, and it says people search 321 report. So I should have just dropped that, but whatever. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. There's really no other road to take, to be honest with you. I mean, there's nothing to. I appreciate it. Aw. And there's another one. AJ, you're always so positive to me too. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're always, just like Shelby, you're always here talking. I mean, a lot of you are. I'm scrolling through here and I recognize most of you from the other channel and how nice you were to me. And I would love to say there's so many I'm scrolling through, and I'd love to say all your names, but you don't want to hear me read names, but I want to post some of these that you guys are saying, but y'all can read them, so I'm not going to post them on here. I'm not getting into this. It says you're right. I'm going back to try to see what Todd's writing. So Todd is the baby boy of our family. Todd's a pretty awesome guy. He's got 3 boys. Oh, she noticed. Okay, I want to give you a story behind the cotton in the jar. Okay, so this is my change jar, by the way. And I got this jar somewhere in Alabama, I think. And it all plays into why I got it here. So my grandpa, he grew up in Alabama. Then they moved to Oklahoma. Well, he was born in Alabama. They went to Oklahoma when he was young. He grew up there. And he was a lot older. So my dad was born like 18 years after his oldest brother. So my grandparents were pretty old. My grandpa was born in 1906. That'll tell you how old he was. But he died in like 1978. So anyway, he used to pick cotton by hand. He came to Arizona during the Depression, and he got a job picking cotton, like picking it. And they used to have cotton picking contests. They used to have a cotton picking contest. No, they used to have cotton picking contests. And he picked like over a ton of cotton by hand, which is insane. So this just reminds me of my grandpa. My grandpa died when I was like 6 years old. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. And my grandma helped raise us. And she was an amazing person. She lived up until 2001. after my grandpa died in 78. She never remarried, anything. She was just an amazing person. So, but that's why that cotton's there. So I like all these old jars, like this one. It's got like an olive branch in it. So it's fake. Got it from like Hobby Lobby or something, but it looks cool. Yeah. Yeah, we lost power just the other night. I was getting ready to do something and then the power went out. So we just went to bed, and Tiffany said, well, I guess you ain't going to do that now. Like I was going to do some research or something. So, but I'm doing this because while one of those videos is playing, I had to get up and turn off that heater because it's so loud, because this is such a small room that now the heat's off in here. So I'm getting a little cold. Grief is so very, very hard, affects us all in so many ways. Absolutely, Gil. I agree. I just want to tell you, Gil, I think you look like the coolest person. I love that haircut. I just think you look cool. Every time I see your like avatar thing, I just think, man, she's got to be one of the coolest. Plus, she's like, her last name's Sharp. So, I mean, that's just cool. Anyway, just thought I'd add that. But yeah, grief sucks. I totally agree. I wish I knew how to say it. Vallow. I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. Hopefully one of those was right. Yeah. If it is a sudden unexpected death, it totally, oh gosh, it's horrible. I can't imagine like losing one of my children or, my spouse, anybody that is that close to me. It's going to be bad enough. My parents are getting older. It's going to be bad enough when one of them passes away. I mean, I have friends, really good friends. One of my best friends, I've talked about him before. His name's Brant. We've been friends since we were kids, and his dad passed away when he was like a freshman in college, and he had like a lot of younger brothers and sisters. And gosh, I can't imagine. Like, I'm so lucky to have had my parents as long as I have. So, oh man, I'm sorry, Nadia, to hear that. I had a roommate when I was married before, and then I ended up divorced. I was going to nursing school at the time and lived with this other guy that was going to nursing school. He's my roommate, and he ended up passing away, and that was hard. I didn't get over that for a long time. We were pretty close, but I've also had some family members, pass away, but nobody like for a long time that had been super close since my grandma, I guess. I've had some uncles and grandmas die, but anyway. I really appreciate that. I do keep it real. There ain't no other way to keep it. All right. Well, I'm getting down to the nitty gritty here. I probably need to wrap it up. It's getting cold, by the way. You don't need to do that, but I appreciate what you said. Got it, Gil. Yeah, you are. And I'm not going to stay on here just so I'll get the stuff, because I don't want it to turn into something like that, to where the content just. But when I, you know, I'm just sorry. I'm reading. Yeah, I knew. You know what? It says I need to get thermals. I walked the dog this morning. It was really super cold, but I put on 3 pairs of socks, a sweatshirt, like a wool, like my Columbia jacket, and then a coat. I had a beanie on, 2 hoods, one on the sweatshirt, one on the coat, and I actually came back sweating. So anyway. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Debbie. I appreciate that. Where is Nat? I'm sorry to hear that. You said earlier that he did his thesis on that, so he must have been an amazing person. So sorry to hear that he passed. Yeah, it says I need Bernie mittens. That's funny. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all being here. I'm gonna wrap it up and get inside. I've been working all day. I haven't seen Tiffany and Charlie much. I have seen them a little bit more because I've been working from home, but I did go outside earlier and help Charlie build a snow fort. That was fun. And yesterday we went sledding. That's what I've been doing on my lunch breaks since I'm working at home. So I'm not as young as I used to be, because going down those hills on that sled was bumpy. I could feel every one of those bumps. I appreciate y'all, and thank you for being here. And if you haven't subscribed already, I'm sure all of you have, but tell your friends, come do it. Also, make sure you tune in next week. It's going to be an amazing show. Last week, I told you I was going to do a weekend rundown, but it was Valentine's Day weekend, so I get a pass on that. I'm going to have one this coming weekend, though. So, yeah. But I weighed the options. Okay, should I try to do this weekend rundown thing, or should I go do Valentine's stuff? And I think I made the right choice. All right. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for everything you do. I love and miss you too, brother. Talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Adios.